like going up to these people while they were sleeping and like opening their mouths and poking them through basically the top of their mouth to their brain fluid. I was like, this is
Mm,
gross as hell.
yeah.
Like,
It was.
but I did enjoy that they were like, oh, we took too much out of these people over the years. Now they have dementia. And I'm like, no shit, that's what's causing all of the dementia. Welcome again, everyone, to the Fawn Pod. It's friends occasionally not disagreeing. This is Cody, and I am back with another summer episode here with Justin and Brett in this one. We're going to
Hello.
check out The Boroughs on Netflix, which I think came out a little bit earlier this year, but it took us a little while to get around to this one because we had some other stuff kind of prioritizing our time to get onto the pod here. But anyway, we'll get over to that in just a minute here. Let's start off with Brett, see what he's been up to recently with his Mr. Crowley.
Well, as far as that's going, unfortunately, um, I don't know what's going on except for the fact that the crows have not been around much recently.
Ooh.
We're starting to come to the conclusion that we think there's some sort of bird turf war going on, and that the Blue Jays and Cardinals are currently winning
Oh,
because because we're seeing a lot of them and not many crows. So, um, we'll have to keep you tuned in on that. I don't know what's going on with that, but the big thing that I was talking about tonight is that my wife and I went last week and checked off one of our big bucket list bands off our concert list, and that being Muse, who was in Clarkston or Pine Knob or DTE Energy, whatever name by which you might know that amphitheater. But yeah, it was great. They, I I haven't tried to like rank it, but it definitely was one of the better shows we've been to, like
Oh,
one of the
wow.
more enjoyable shows. Certainly there were songs where the this audio mixing quality didn't seem great, like it was hard to hear his vocals or whatever. Just things felt like they were like too loud, essentially. But other songs he sounded absolutely incredible, and like he's still. There was a little bit of concern for me on not hearing them live before. I was like, well, I mean, he can't possibly sound as good as he does on the albums, like live, because he sounds awesome on the albums. But he's like still got it
Hmm.
after all these years. Like I felt he sounded great. Some of the songs were the stage setup and the performance of it was awesome. And I felt like one the big like awesome moment of the night was actually one of their new songs, where he came out and was wearing a suit, well, not like a jacket and a helmet, and they all had like LED lights, and so he was lit up, and the stage was all lit up in the same kind of like 80s uh neon lighting setup, and it was like really awesome. It was almost like a Daft Punk kind of thing
Hmm.
feel to it, but great show. We both really enjoyed it. And I think that's a band that we would go back and see again sometime if we got a chance.
Super cool.
nice.
How about you, Justin?
Oh, well, I had a meeting early this morning, so I'm kind of running on fumes at this point. But let's see. Um, Not a whole lot since the last time I was on, although I have started kind of paging through my to read pile, just stacks and stacks of books I'm trying to get through. And I decided to pull out The Jungle by Upton Sinclair because,
Oh, wow.
no particular reason. Certainly, we aren't dealing with horrendous food crises in terms of cleanliness and contagion in this country or anything. But yeah, I've never actually read it before, and it's a little dry, but it's uh, topical, I would say. So yeah, not a whole lot else new to really report on my end. But how about you?
Wasn't that the book where he intended to basically show people like labor unions were bad and all people took out of it was like, wait, what's in our meat?
Right. Yes,
Forget
yeah.
that other part. What am I eating?
There's a lot in the meat. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. My end here, I will just say a couple quick things. I also have been doing a lot of reading. I think I'm on the last maybe 200 pages, which I know sounds like I'm lazy as hell, but I've been reading book two of the Stormlight Archives, and the Words of Radiance book is like, I don't even know, 1100 pages or something. So it's been a long time that I've been reading it, but they're ramping up to what seems like it's pretty obviously going to be like the big moment of this book, and I have been hard pressed to put that down at night because it's like I know it's coming, and like a couple of characters finally have spent a few scenes together that hadn't spent a lot of scenes together so far, so that was kind of cool. So that's good, and then also stopped playing Blueprints now that Dave's not on this podcast. I can shit all over it. But I was
Oh.
joking earlier, but I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 for legitsies. It's just too damn repetitive. But anyway,
Hmm.
one last thing I will mention here is I, like most of the country, have spent 2 hours and 52 minutes of my life going to see the Odyssey of Samus Aran. I started Metroid Prime 4 Beyond after I threw down Blueprints, and that's about how much time I have in the game so far. So it has been pretty awesome so far. Like a little weirder than the other Metroid Prime games, which kind of says something as well, but like I don't you do like a little intro stage and then somehow you're on this, like every game's on a weird planet or some shit going down, but this is a weird one. Like your powers are like psychic, and so you're like manipulating objects, and there's gonna be I'm in the plant where you're gonna get like more or less a motorcycle to ride on the planet, from like point A to point B, which is kind of bizarre, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's been kind of cool. So that's that. All right, well
Oh,
let's go. Yeah.
one other thing, just because female protagonists, I did my wife and I did go see Supergirl recently because
Oh,
somehow it was still showing in the theaters up here, despite I guess kind of bombing overall nationwide. But we liked it. It wasn't a perfect superhero movie by any means, but it was fun. Some good music, good fight scenes, and she is, I still say, a more interesting character than Superman himself, just because she has a bit more complexity to her. So yeah, if you want to catch that on streaming, because it's got to be on its way to streaming at this point, give it a watch. It's a better movie than the sales would have you believe.
do you turn your virtual background off for a second?
No,
Okay.
I
No, I just wanted to know if your wife was standing behind you while you were saying all that.
no, I am safe.
Okay, just checking. And I thought she was like telling you what to say. She's
No, it
better than
was.
Superman, Justin.
I
Isn't
mean,
she, Justin? A
she's not
pinch
a
nerve even harder.
she's not a Boy Scout. I mean, it's
Hmm.
and that automatically makes her a more interesting character, I
What,
think.
your wife or the Supergirl?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, with that all being out of the way, let's talk about some old folks here, as we'll talk about The Boroughs on Netflix. This is I don't know if it was, I don't think it was actually advertised as a limited series, but a season one, I guess, or maybe it was just not mentioned, I guess, but 8 episode series on Netflix. One-liner here from IMDb: in a seemingly picturesque retirement community, a group of unlikely heroes must band together to stop an otherworldly threat from stealing the one thing they don't have: time. Um, I guess just before we get into anything here, is this something I know I kind of suggested this one, I think, a long time ago, but is this something you guys were interested in? Was this on your radar?
I knew virtually nothing about it. I think it had shown up on like the splash page on Netflix for me or something, but I didn't really look too closely at it. So I kind of yeah, I went into this one on your recommendation and pretty much blind. So
Okay.
that's yeah.
I don't recall precisely, but I don't know if I saw something about it first or if I understood that it was made by the Duffer Brothers first. One of those, which one of those two happened first, I don't know. But I was interested when I first saw it 'cause I was like it looked like something very similar where it was like the supernatural thing and like an interesting setting and that drew me in pretty quick.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the Duffer Brothers there. We're going to come back to them round circle here by the end of the podcast. So this was created by and partially written by Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews, but the Duffer Brothers are listed as some of the executive producers on this one. Um, so keep that in mind. We'll come back to that here as we look at where the show is going from this first season, I guess. Very similar to the last episode we recorded on Exit 8. We have some disparity here with the ratings currently out there for this show, and this will sound familiar to Justin, who was on that podcast as well. We have IMDb at a 7.3, Metacritic users 6.8, Metacritic critics 7.1, Rotten Tomato users 7.6. So all of that is only a zero point 0.8 variance. And then Rotten Tomato critics 9.6.
Jeez.
Okay.
Which
I'm sensing a pattern. Yeah, just in how they approach things.
it's kind of interesting. I'm gonna double check that right now because that just seems hard to believe with the other ones being so.
And then it's the critic score too, you said, right? Like I
Yeah,
could
it's
see
the
that being
critics
the user
96.
score is
Yeah,
often very different from the critic scores, but
That is accurate. They have it
that's
higher than the
weird.
classic Glenn Powell movie Hitman currently. So
That's high praise.
there it is. I guess so. It wasn't that good, but anyway. All right, we got a big old cast in this one, including we'll talk about the ages of the cast here in a little bit, but Alfred Molina still playing Doc Ock from the original trilogy here. It's Sam Cooper, more or less our protagonist. Alfre Woodard as Judy Daniels, Dennis O'Hare as Wally Baker, Clark Peters as Art Daniels, Carlos Miranda as Paz Navarro, Jenna Malone as Claire Cooper, Seth Numrich as Blaine, Shaw, Alice Kremmelberg as Annalise Shaw, Gina Davis as Renee Joyce, Eric Edelstein as Hank Williams. I promise that's not David Harbour, but I had to double check the first couple episodes. And then we can't forget Bill Pullman as well as Jack Willard, who's not around for the whole series, unfortunately, but pretty memorable for what he is in there. So,
hmm.
any of these characters or actors, actresses kind of stood out for you, or any that you think can work a little more on the bland side, or we needed to know more about their character, or anything here from the initial cast?
I honestly, by the end of it, I really found myself endeared by most of these characters. I mean, just solid performances all around. But if I had to pick some favorites, Art is a guy I could definitely see myself like sitting down, having a drink with, and just like bullshitting philosophy or conspiracy theories or something like that. He just seemed like a really interesting, cool guy.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, Sam, of course, as you know, as our focal point, he had to be, strong, and he was an interesting enough character. But it was just good also seeing Gina Davis getting some work again because she was really quite good as Renee, as a sort of art teacher, music enthusiast, former band manager. She had more layers as the show went on, and just overall, like I said, really solid performances, I thought.
Similar thoughts. Obviously like Sam, the character is meant to be like he's old and he's grumpy and it's not a person that you like. You don't come easily to like him, immediately. But by the end, he was very likable. He definitely like
Yeah, good point.
opened up and you could see his layers more. But yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of these characters. They felt like they were performed very well. Um, just the characters themselves were very fun. A lot of these were, because the cast is literally just elderly people, so
Mhm.
or playing elderly people, and the characters basically are a lot of them are at the point where like they just don't give an F, and so like they say and do things that are kind of just like, yeah, let's go for it. And just not really necessarily caring about their safety or what might happen. And that easily leads into fun situations. And there was a lot of that where it was just enjoyable to watch, because of the nature of what these characters were.
Yeah, great points all around. I'll also highlight a couple of my favorites here. I liked Elfra Woodard here as Judy. She's been great in a lot of stuff. I think I fell in love with her when I watched Luke Cage originally on Netflix. She was kind of the, not the villain, but definitely the overarching bad girl, I guess, over top the city. And so everything I've seen her in, she just kind of plays more or less the same like kick-ass kind of lady. And in this, she does that a little bit, but it seems like she got to play around a little more and have more fun with the character in this one than she typically does with a lot of things she's in. So that was really fun. And I also enjoyed Wally as well, Dennis O'Hare, who's the guy with like some kind of cancer. I forget what kind of he had
Prostate, I
exactly,
think.
prostate,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just kind of like down on his luck because he's going to die, but still giving people like fashion advice and like all these other like crazy things that he's still interested in and had skills still that he was using. Um, yeah, I'd agree. I mean, Bill Pullman, I would even highlight, even though he wasn't there for many episodes, like he was the almost playing like a parody of Bill Pullman as a character, which was kind of funny. That the way he was kind of like talking and just over the topness that he had, which is kind of fun. Yeah, if anything, I could say about the characters, probably the least interesting, sadly, were the two villains of the show, like the actors and the characters, or maybe it was the characters' fault that the actors didn't have as much to do with, but they tried to put a little story in there for them as well, but they were like two, I was like, like
Mhm.
they
They're
kind
pretty
of,
much just straight up, just
yeah,
generic villain. Yeah.
Off the
yeah,
shelf, kind of. Yeah.
which I guess we needed somebody there to have all these other characters play off, but all right. Well, I just want to start off with this is such a different idea for a show, at least anything I've seen, with a cast that's all in their 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s here as our main stars. And I think Brett kind of already alluded to a little bit of like this is kind of the flip of Stranger Things, where we have kids
Mhm.
in probably close to single digits by the time that series started, up to teenagers later on. And here's like the complete opposite. So we have this retirement community where they all either voluntarily went to or their family shipped them off to, or somehow they ended up in this retirement community way out in the middle of the desert. And lo and behold, it's a community that's haunted by monsters, and we got all this crazy stuff going on. So just wanted to kind of start with like, what did you think of this as just a premise for a TV show, in terms of like different than things you've seen, original, something you thought was kind of cool, or did it work for you? I guess kind of where we're headed here.
For me, a lot of it, at least for like the first half of the show, it's kind of felt like reverse Goonies in a way, because that was all about also about kids, getting wrapped up in a mystery, and trying to get to the bottom of it, and come out on top. And of course, flip side is that they're all old, but at first it seemed like it was going to be more mystery centric than like than monster heavy, like it eventually went into. But I think it was an interesting setup, and one that weirdly is getting a fair amount of traction, at least in like the tabletop RPG space.
Oh, really?
There are several like settings that take that take the premise of you are a bunch of old folks solving mysteries or fighting monsters or whatever.
Huh.
There's Brindlewood Bay, where you're a bunch of specifically old ladies in like a retirement community. There is one called what was it? Green Oaks, I think, which is also kind of similar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's for whatever reason, this is like a little subgenre that's developing, and it's kind of neat to see that that different take on people in a situation where they're in over their heads, and yet having their possibly their age being an added factor in terms of like the difficulties they might have to deal with. So, but yeah, I thought it was a neat setup, and definitely got me invested pretty much from the get-go.
I have to speculate, Justin.
Mhm.
Do you think that like genre of gaming could be starting because some of the people who first played D&D are getting like 50, late 50s into 60, like literally, you know
It's
what I mean?
possible, yeah.
Like
I
I'll
mean,
be honest, because there were parts of this show that hit way more hard as like I'm like, oh shit, I'm like 40, almost 45 here and going as far as I can. And then like I was like, okay, I can relate to a few of these things they're talking about here. It's kind of weird. So
it's entirely possible. I mean, yeah, and on the movie side of things too, like I alluded a bit to the Goonies, and people who grew up watching the Goonies are also going to be getting up there in years. So that's a very strong possibility, I'd say.
Hmm.
Yeah, as far as your question there, the just the basic premise of the show, um, it really did work for me. Like this is kind of like for my wife and I, it's kind of our bread and butter is like just weird things, like supernatural or like just mystery or just like you've got a situation that seems normal, but there's something underlying that is whatever ominous or just something else going on. And so um it really checked a lot of those boxes for us. Um it had a fair amount of humor. There was one line because I was watching one of the last episodes on my phone, um, and while the kids were watching something else, it was this like terrible timing because someone like on the screen there like they were watching something and the person on character on the scrn died, and I just busted out laughing because of a line in the show, and they're like, what? Look back at me like, what? But there was some really good humor in here, and I would say probably like less horror suspense than I was maybe expecting at first. It was pretty mild by the end, but still gave a lot of just odd vibes to it, which was great.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what you guys said. The setting was kind of unique to me. We'll talk about that a little more in a second here, but just like featuring, it could be maybe it's, I mean, kind of I don't know if it's an ageist thing or more like I could relate to different ages differently. Like my initial instinct isn't like, here, let's watch this show about a bunch of 75-year-olds running around this town.
Right.
But, just on a face level, I'd be like, I don't know about that. But the previews looked good. It had the Duffer Brothers on there, the Stranger Things comparisons. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And yeah, it was really fun. Just kind of a fun concept too of just like monsters running around, like attacking old elderly people while they sleep and like there's
It's
this secret cult going on in this little village.
it's the Bubba Hotep effect.
The Bubba Hotep effect. Explain
If
that,
you haven't
Justin.
if you haven't seen Bubba Hotep, you owe it to yourself. It's Bruce Campbell as Elvis in a retirement home, teaming up with, oh God, who plays JFK? One second. Um, Give me one moment here.
I actually have not seen Bubba Hotep
Oh,
still
you
somehow.
need to. It is a fantastic
Yeah,
movie,
I should
Bubba
watch that
Hotep.
sometime.
Okay, so it is. Oh, so I'm sorry, I went to the wrong IMDb entry. Apparently, there's a producer named going by the name Bubba Hotep as
Oh,
well.
jeez.
Ozzie Davis, there we go, playing, I believe, JFK, which it gets explained in the movie. But yeah, they're basically in a retirement home, just living out their final years, except something is basically a mummy has somehow gotten into the retirement home and is sucking the souls out of all the residents. So it's up to them to kind of team up and find a way to stop it. It's a fantastic film. Uh,
I've heard it's pretty good.
but anyway, sorry, a tangent there.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Oh man, that's got everything. They got comic book stuff. They got all kinds of stuff for that franchise. Okay, back to where we were here. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun to just chat about a couple different topics I had here, some of the settings and visuals and sounds, monster variety, themes, a couple of questions we may have had about stuff in the show, or some like, did we need more of this type stuff? But let's start with that setting because it is kind of unique. It's just like this retirement village that's way out in the middle of the desert, so it's really remote, which is nice because that automatically creates problems, for a setting as you're going through and making your plot do whatever it's going to do, whether it's like the police getting there from far away or an emergency, who's can help them type thing, or they're kind of trapped there, as they say several times in the show, like there's nothing but desert beyond the walls. Who needs to watch the desert? Because none of these old people could make it a day through the desert anyway. So it's kind of this big barrier around every place. Super cool. And again, just like a really fun idea of I'm an idiot. Okay, I just put that out there because even though the icon for this show is literally the monster in the oven, I had forgotten about that. So when they finally revealed how the monsters were getting in and out of the house, I was like, oh yeah, that's the picture. I'm an idiot. Um, so that's kind of fun, but yeah.
I
Anyway,
will say I appreciate the that choosing this as a location, out in the middle of the desert. It's a nice workaround to the what's become kind of like the standard stock. Oh, there's no cell service out here. I mean, that's how a lot of isolation is handled in modern day horror because cell phones are so ubiquitous. But
right?
being so physically removed, it doesn't really matter if cell phones work, if you can get in touch with anybody, because like you said, it's going to take them too long to get there to try and help you. So I appreciated them thinking outside the box instead of just doing the old tired chestnut of, oh, there's no service here.
Yeah, good point. Visually, I think the town or the boroughs, as they're called here, have like a certain appeal to them. It's kind of like a more of like a mid-century type vibe and aesthetic, it feels like, which I guess, for people of that age, it would be, I don't really know, maybe harkening back to like an earlier day in their life, possibly if they're that old, but it definitely didn't have the look of like a modern community as well. So like it was visually distinct, I think, compared to a lot of places as well. It's almost like what was that movie, Pleasantville or The Truman Show or something like that, where it was like,
Mm.
here's this idyllic little town, except no. All right, what else we got here? Music in the show, fantastic. We got some good needle drops in this
Hmm.
episodes or series here. So I wrote down a few, but Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen. Which, true confession, I don't know if I've ever actually listened to Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen.
Hmm.
Same.
Yeah.
I was not familiar with this. Like when they started like talking about it and like singing it at one point at the karaoke, I was like, I think maybe I've heard this before, but it wasn't one that was like had radio play often.
Yeah, I know I had heard it at some point. It's been a good number of years, but I was at least passingly familiar with it.
I've seen the name before many
Mm,
times, but like I could have never told you what it sounded like.
right.
But now after watching, particularly the scene it's used in here, I'm like, I gotta go listen to the song, see if I like it or not. We got Born to Run, also by Bruce Springsteen. At the end of the show, we get the Golden Years, David Bowie, Night Moves, Bob Seger, Lovely Day, Bill Withers. One of my more recent classical favorite songs, The Passenger by Susie and the Banshees, and Oye Como Va, Santana, and there's more in here as well. But really just a lot of good music in this show, and it's used pretty well for a lot of the scenes, I will say too, even if it's, like one particular scene, like the Santana is used for like 25 seconds in one scene in like episode 8, I think. And they like put on the record as the bad guys come in, and it serves its purpose, but it's quiet in there, and all you hear is the music playing in that scene, and it's like kind of sticks out in your mind a little bit because of that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Well, let's talk about the quote unquote monsters, I guess. The inhumanoids, at least. Let's call it that, I guess, in here. What did you think of the monster design and like just as a creature to have as I don't want to say the villain, but the monsters, I guess.
I mean, suitably creepy. I have certain questions, which I mean, once we talk a bit more about the different monster, I'll get into a bit of that. But yeah, they're spindly. They're kind of spider-like. And yet somehow kind of human-like too. I think they're neat looking.
Yeah, I also like enjoyed how they kind of revealed it in like little bits and pieces. Like you could at one point you'd like see like an arm or something, and that's all you see, and then you like see a little bit of something else. And it wasn't until was it the last episode before we saw a full body shot of one? It was like seven or
Uh
eight. It was pretty late, I think.
yeah,
Maybe.
it maybe as early as 6, but it was past the midway point definitely. Because there was the one
Yeah.
that they shoot in the tunnels, and you get a pretty good look at that one.
Oh, that's true. That was yeah, like in the middle. Maybe that was like 4 or 5. But
Yeah,
still, it like goes like halfway through before you really get
Yeah.
a really good look
yeah.
at one. Um, but yeah, I thought the design was pretty good. They were creepy. Um, yeah, the the mother was uh definitely something.
Yeah, that
It
she
was an
was.
interesting by the end. It was so because it like by the end she like wasn't scary at all. Like she was like cute
Right.
almost. Like yeah, it was like just like almost charming character. It was like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
um it, interesting how they kind of flipped that. But overall the design I thought was pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting too how we had this slow rollout of like it seemed like there was this creature that was going around sucking. I mean, just what they were doing also, PS, of like going up to these people while they were sleeping and like opening their mouths and poking them through basically the top of their mouth to their brain fluid. I was like, this is
Mm,
gross as hell.
yeah.
Like,
It was.
but I did enjoy that they were like, oh, we took too much out of these people over the years. Now they have dementia. And I'm like, no shit, that's what's causing all of the dementia. Crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there was a good job of working in natural aging issues into this problem so that like it just masked it all
Mhm.
perfectly.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
They were cool. Yeah, just even the idea of like how many of these things are out there, and they reference the one Scar, I think. The cop is like, oh, Scar got loose again. And I'm like, oh, Scar's the monster in the show. No,
Hmm.
there's a bunch of weird stuff going down here, but
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's go on here then. And I'm going to jump category, but we'll definitely have a chance to talk about the other quote unquote monsters here. So let's talk about themes in the show, of which I think there's actually a lot of stuff going on here. So I wrote down five. They're kind of pseudo connected in some places, but um, starting with, I guess, just like a lot of these are centered around love and then also centered around I guess dying in some ways, but the idea of like using let's start with kind of like using the blood or the milk or whatever you want to call it of the mother here that they're drinking. So to basically stop aging and you can live forever if you continue to have this magical fluid that you're drinking. And then also I'll tie that in with B, like this concept of saving loved relatives by giving them this and like curing not just old age, but as polio as we saw in the thing, or cancer, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
There's some really interesting ethical things here to think about and maybe discuss here. So, I mean, how did you guys like the reveal of who the monsters were, and then also how some of the stuff was being used?
I mean, if a rich, like if a millionaire, billionaire, what have you, discovers the secret to eternal life, or at least eternal youth, yeah, this seems like what they would do with it, like 100%. They would, keep it for themselves, consequences to everyone else be damned. And they would try to rationalize it and moralize it as being like, oh, well, it's um, you know, in Blaine's case, oh, my wife has suffered enough, and she deserves this kind of a thing. And yeah, it really feels like that is how the rich and powerful would approach something like this. Um, that said, I can also see, I don't know if we want to spoil like the character in question, but there is someone who discovers the whole thing and wants to use it for more altruistic purposes. And I can see that side of things too. But then again, he's not rich, he's not powerful. He legitimately seems to have good intentions. If he had been able to carry on with it, who knows how long this would have stood up. But I mean, I like that they did try to work in various approaches, various mindsets with regards to this magical elixir of monster blood.
Mm. The fact that the villains in this were literally yeah just keeping it for themselves. There's small little group, the staff of the Boroughs. um it on one hand, it felt kind of stereotypical, just kind of like base for a villain story, but it also does it just was really good at making them even more villainous because it's not like they didn't they've been alive doing this for we don't know precisely like something like 100 years
Yeah.
ish,
Mhm.
somewhere in that range or like 80 somewhere like that, but uh like they haven't done anything at all to try and like replicate it.
Mm.
Like they could have very
Yeah.
easily gone down a path of let's replicate this shit and sell it to the highest bidder and make a shitload of money. We're still villains. Now we're rich villains, but they didn't do that. They're just like so hell bent on just keeping themselves young forever that like they never did that. And that actually made them even more villainous in my mind, while kind of making them just very base and not, not so interesting,
Yeah.
but it kind of worked for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it is interesting. Even as far as like they didn't even do enough as a scientific bad guy to be like, what happens if our supply runs out? Like they don't even have a contingency plan of like when
Yeah,
this
after all these
stops,
years.
and they're like, oh shit, it's running out. We better do something now. Like, well, you had 100 years to figure it out, but it's interesting. I think it's a cool concept. Justin, even the guy that you're referencing,
Mhm.
with the altruistic motivations, like even he was called out though by another character, and they're like, "You want your cancer cured instantly," and he was like, "Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's the first thing we should use it for." But also,
Mhm.
um, but then there's also like the whole flip of it too, right? Which is the like, I think it's the humanity of it is really interesting in this show in terms of like these creatures are obviously not human. Do they have rights? Who are the people in the burrows to put them in cages and then to, like use this mother until she's basically dead, or maybe she was dying anyway of old age. I don't know, but like there's the ethical considerations of like PETA would not be happy with this show, I would think, if it were real life, because who are we to do that too? So there's that angle too, which I think is really interesting here also.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right,
I
yeah,
oh, just I don't
yeah.
know. Do we want to talk about a bit about like the origins of the creatures such as they are, or do we want
Do you
to?
know the origins of the creatures such as they
That's a good
are?
question.
It was a single line on par with somehow Palpatine has returned. Um,
Oh,
it was basically yeah, Blaine. God, what was his name? Blaine Shaw. If in the mine he found an egg, or like whoever
Hmm.
was in the mine
An
before
egg,
him
yeah.
found an egg, and that's it. Egg hatched, and then that's it. That's all the origin we have for these creatures. Egg in a mine.
egg hatch, and that was mother then, presumably.
Yep. And then somehow Mother started having her own children despite being the only thing that hatched out of the egg. And sure, like some creatures can do parthenogenesis, I think is what it's called, where you just, have clones of yourself. But at the same time, it's just like, what? There are there are so many questions about these things that don't get any sort of satisfactory answers.
Yeah.
Definitely some loose writing.
Yeah.
All
Like
right. Well,
I can get behind them, their blood being a magical youth serum. Sure, that's the MacGuffin that keeps the show going, but don't start adding in other scientific stuff because they mentioned like stuff about their proteins being, left-handed chirality instead of right, and that I'll get to that at the end because
oh,
that is a
okay.
whole different kettle of fish. But it's like they start adding in things to try to make make these creatures seem unique and different and whatnot, but they don't think any of it through.
Oh, God damn it. You have the caloric intake of Loch Ness again, don't you?
It's something similar, yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, I really this is where some of the shakiness for the show started for me. That's all I'm going to say at this point, and we can continue on.
Okay. Some other big themes here. Love, I think, definitely, obviously, with Blaine and Elise there for sure. But we also get some different angles of love in the show, which is kind of fun. Gina Davis's character falls in love with a much younger person, so that was kind of interesting. They went with here, especially as a little bit of a flip to the societal, like old man has young lady that he's wooing or whatever. This was kind of the flip on that. And then we also get like love and loss with people like Sam and his wife who's passed on, and then we also get Judy and Sam who kind of have a marriage. They love each other, but they had some weird rules in the marriage, it seemed like, as well. So there's all kinds of different love, quote unquote, all through the show here. So how did that angle play out to anybody?
It it made the cast seem very human. I thought, love's complicated, and sometimes it drives you to do horrible things, a la
Hmm.
Blaine and his wife. Sometimes it drives you to, give more of yourself than you thought possible. So yeah, I really liked that aspect of it where it just it was complex and layered, and it felt very genuine, very human.
Yeah, I don't know that I had much more of that. It that really kind of hit the nail on the head. It just felt real, and like Cody, like you were pointing out, like they hit a bunch of different scenarios as well that made it interesting, and um, it did it like all that led to me liking these characters more. Um, as the one moment in particular that I would point to is like the moment near the end where we see Sam with his wife Lily, um like at that end I won't say too much more on that, but that was really touching. Like that was a like a tear jerking kind of moment. And there were other parts similar to that along the way, uh and things with like Judy and Art, and how they kind of reconnected after having lost their love, basically. Um, it felt real, and it felt good to see.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's just kind of fun to see the different ways you can take, a singular idea and take it in some different directions, sometimes unexpected, or I guess you could even get to like friendship love that they had with each other too. Another angle I just thought of, like they all seem to have this
Mm.
pretty close-knit bond down in their cul-de-sac as well. Um, okay, and then at least for me, last theme I had here was one Justin could not relate to at all, which is corporate apathy to its customers and possibly workers.
Nope, it's a completely foreign concept from my
Oh
in my
my
world.
God. But yeah, there is this too. Like there was zero cares that they gave especially Blaine and Annalise as far as like just using all of these old people for what they needed to use them for. Mixed with a little bit of like, even the workers, the ones that I guess were getting the serum. That's great. That's a pretty good perk of the job, I guess. But there was even like one throwaway line, where the sheriff was like, "I just need a little bit more. It's a little harder than it used to be because I'm getting older." And he's like, "You've made the contract. That's what you get." But like, I don't know how they're working that out, 10% or whatever it was. That's like,
Yeah, not increasing his blood pay.
One
yeah,
one Dixie cup a day.
that's all you get, one Dixie cup. So, um, I think there's something in there as well. So, all right. See what else we got here. Let's get into some of the problems here with the show then, because there are handfuls. Sounds like generally we like the show for the most part, but we had maybe some issues that we'll touch on here. Before I get to like strict questions I had for this show, I just had a couple questions here before that about a few of the characters. I was very confused for the first like 6 episodes why they hired someone. Not that Jenna Malone is like the biggest actress in the world, but she's at least a name I knew. And this like throwaway daughter role that she had, where she made a phone call once an episode, I was like, wow, she signed on for like that. She does make more of an appearance at the end of the show. But did you think we needed more for that character in particular?
I
I
don't think so. I think they use the character well. Like I was much happier that they focused on the elderly friend group, rather than have her being a focal point. Uh, I think in the way they used her was pretty effective, in you know showing this family connection that with Sam and the father and the daughter, and how things are kind of strained. But like that's not how either of them wants it, but that's just how it is, and like how that develops through the series was I think done pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, echoing a bit of what Brett said, I do. I am glad they stuck with most of the focus being on the old folks because that was what the show is about. And if they had more of a focus on her, it could have undermined that a bit. Instead, we get the main cast more or less, figuring things out on their own, coming to their own, conclusions and solutions to things, which I think makes it a bit stronger. But I'm glad she was there for the familial connection because it showed um, that that the issues they had, the shortcomings that were there at the beginning, or the difficulties, the troubles, they can be overcome, and and in the end, you can be stronger for it. And I think that's also a good theme. And yeah, having her on the periphery for a lot of it shows how distant and removed they were from each other, and gradually working her back in, kind of emphasize the, mending things until the realization that, oh my God, my dad's not crazy, and all this stuff is actually happening. That clicked at the end, and I feel that was well done.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I could have used maybe a smidge more on my end, even if it was only like some background with Sam and her, I think. Like I didn't need her life, but just as a more to tie her to her dad, I think would have been okay in my book. Over here. And then I guess to go along with that, then we talked about right there, you both just mentioned like you're happy that it stuck with the old cast or the old crew, I guess. The oldies, if you will. Uh, do you wish you would have got any more on those characters? We didn't get a lot of background on them. Would that have bogged the show down? I mean, it's Sam's show, I guess, in some ways, but they're definitely a big enough part of the show that like we don't really know who these characters are, even though we spent 8 episodes with them. We get a couple of hints maybe here and there on a couple of them, but would you have liked to know more about them at all?
Mhm. I mean, maybe a bit, but I do feel like the elements we got were worked in pretty organically. Like Art and Judy's relationship, and like how leading in the first thing we find out about them is that Judy might be sleeping with Jack, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of a big thing. And then you find out, as the story goes on, and you learn a little bit more about them. It's like, oh well, they are sort of okay with that sort of thing, but within limits, and she may have overstepped those limits, and it's like, okay, that's kind of interesting, and I feel that we learn all of that in a pretty natural sort of way. Uh, Similar, there are hints that Wally is, if not gay, at least bisexual, because I think at one point he drops a line about how the properties of the blood, the monster blood. It can cure cancer, or it can stop your husband of dying of AIDS. I think he said at one point, and I think that was just sort of like a nod towards another part of his sexuality that was not explicitly stated, but
Hmm.
interesting all the same. And yeah, with Gina Davis's character, Renee, when she's talking with or Paz, excuse me, yeah, they start talking about music and how she, then you learn she used to be like a promoter or like a manager or something like that. I don't
Oh,
quite
right.
remember, but so it's like, yeah, it's little bits, but I mean, I do feel like they flesh things out decently you know, for getting to know them to at least some extent.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I don't feel like I at any point asked myself or realized that we hadn't really gotten backstory on his characters. So I guess in the end overall for me I didn't need it. Um I I I also think like in part the performances were good enough that I got like I felt like I knew the characters to some degree
Hmm.
just strictly through the performances. Um, you kind of get a feeling of like what these how these people react to things and like how who they are and stuff and like their sense of humor and like their morality, and so you get like that through the performances. So I don't necessarily know that I needed any more than that.
Yeah, that's well put, Brett. I don't know. I guess I don't know if the characters were written so well that that just came across organically, or how much that is actually the performance versus the character. I mean, it's a very capable cast, so maybe they just made their characters very lifelike in their performances, or maybe there are just enough hints in there to kind of get to know who they are. What I find interesting about all of the characters is they're all essentially retired because of their age, and so once we all work these jobs for our prime years, and then once we're done with that, people kind of filter off in these different directions, which is really interesting. Like Art went to golf all the time, or he said he was golfing, and Judy was like the snoop of the village, the gossip, trying to figure out background on everybody, and
Oh yeah, because she did used to be a reporter. I think it was mentioned at one point,
yeah,
or
Renee.
journalist or something. Yeah,
Renee's
yeah.
like, I'm just going to keep teaching classes at this other place. And so it's interesting to see like the different routes they all take. I think Jack just became an alcoholic, but that's okay. Um, Yeah, so maybe we didn't need a lot more than what we got, I guess. All right, well, let's this will be the fun part, I think, here. Let's talk about loose ends and plot holes and questions we have,
Mm.
because we've been pretty kind up to this point, but let's go through these. So, I'll start us off with one, and we can just go around if you have one, or I'll keep going with these.
Okay.
How did they get Mother in the wheelchair down the oven
I hadn't even written that one
or
down. Oh my
or
God.
up the oven, yes.
or up the oven?
I, I questioned that also at one point. I was like, they're climbing through the tunnels and like they climb out the oven and like I was like, wait, are you just lifting her? Wait, what? How does?
Very
That's a
Okay.
damn
convenient.
good point.
A very convenient camera cuts there. And she's sitting in the living room. I'm like, wait a second. How did okay.
They were
So
carrying her like a backpack at one point, but
Hmm.
like still, I don't know how you get out of that tunnel with like that situation.
Right.
yeah. I don't know how you get her through
Huh.
the oven. You gotta like shove her through the
Uh,
push, push, push.
but so just on the subject of her, why was her blood orange, but the blood of all of her children was blue? I mean, they're the same species, right?
Hmm.
You'd think they'd have the same blood, maybe, possibly. That never made sense to me.
I mean, that makes logical sense. Yeah. I mean, there obviously is something special about her that isn't the same with the children because they can only use her blood for the youth serum, uh, but there was a lot of difference between her and the children. So
Yeah,
that then they didn't bother to explain that at all.
yeah. Well, I mean, they said something about like how they fed her, so much spinal fluid that she's starting to look like us now.
Mm.
But that also raises questions because that's not how food works. This isn't Bug Snacks, if anyone remembers that game. Um, but also, like the children are also drinking the spinal fluid, so why didn't they start to look like people, or
Mm.
like humans? It's just or why? It's just yeah. Someone else to take one because I feel like I've been going on for a bit.
I feel like by the end of the season, I didn't have an answer to that. I think earlier in the season, I was speculating that there was some stupidly drawn out process, which was like they were drinking the spinal fluid and then they were feeding the spinal fluid like to the mom, and then like they were literally getting like mother's milk or something, which is what they were drinking. And like the
Mm,
milk was replenishing her, and that's why it was a different color because it was literally two different substances. But they
mm,
never, I thought that early in the season, and they never really went back to flesh that out, pun intended.
mm.
So I don't know. Great question.
Yeah, I feel like they said it was like her blood, right? Or
I
are
thought
we just
so.
assuming that?
I
Because
thought
they
they had
could
said
have
mother's blood at
it
some
could have been
point.
like milk, like you're suggesting. They could have milked her
But
like a cat. That's something I didn't need nothing about right now, but um, it's possible.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know.
Kind of piggybacking off of those thoughts too, like uh in that last episode or in the last couple of episodes, we get clues and I mean then direct visuals that the staff of the Boroughs also seem to be not fully human anymore. Like when they're getting zapped with the TV rays, like they all are like kind of fluxing between human and like something else underneath that kind of resembles the children.
Yeah.
And they didn't
Yeah.
bother to explain that at all, other than, I mean, we can kind of maybe assume that since they have been consuming mother's fluids, that they are also changing into the creatures to some degree.
Right.
But like that was never explained at all.
No.
So it's similar to why they were kind of changing into humans, and that wasn't explained. So it's just kind of all the same thing there.
And speaking of eating stuff, so okay, I have to get back to the chirality thing. Okay, so they mentioned this early on, like they do some tests on like the first sample of the children's blood that they find, and Wally, I think it was, he's like, this is incredible. The the chirality of the proteins is reversed, and this is something no one has ever seen before, and for those of you at home, that refers to like basically the arrangement of atoms on a protein. So basically, think of it like clockwise versus counterclockwise, or like a screw. So like pretty much everything on Earth that I'm aware of has a chirality that goes one way. I think it's right-handed. So think of the threads on a screw as like spinning to the right. If you had a different screw that was, where the threads were spinning to the left, that would be a left-handed chirality. You could not fit that in a hole designed for a right-handed screw. It just wouldn't work. Similarly, something with right-handed chirality or left-handed chirality could not physically consume food with the opposite, proteins going the opposite way without dying. So,
Yeah.
how are this was even a thing in like the Mass Effect games where like some of the alien species could only eat certain types of food because they were designed differently.
Were they in
So
Australia though? It's all backwards.
But the thing is, like, so given that we've established that the blood is, it has the opposite chirality to its proteins, how can people drink it and not die? Flip side, how can these things drink people's spinal fluid, which again has the opposite chirality to its proteins that they would need? How could they do that and not die? None of this makes sense. If they had not included this one seemingly throwaway line, none of this would be an issue. But since they did, they didn't follow through with it at all. None of the rest of the plot involving the drinking of various stuff makes any sense whatsoever.
Hmm.
There should be dead bodies everywhere of both species.
I mean, speaking
Aw.
of dead bodies everywhere, how about those birds, huh?
Well,
What
that was
happened there?
I think that was explained as like Mother was in so much pain that because Mother is also psychic. We didn't mention this. She can
Mm.
like reach
That's
out to
true.
certain people like through their brain waves if they've experienced certain trauma or something like that. And I think it was said something like she was in so much pain or so much distress that she just like it was like a burst that happened to like interfere with
Was
a flock of crows
was the
and
wow
just
signal for the birds?
something like that. Yeah, I think it was just like another throwaway line where that was they attempted to explain that and it was really just something they
Yeah.
did because it looked cool, I think.
There was a
Did
line
look cool.
in there where one of the characters said about her telepathic communication powers that like she was able to talk to the birds before she was able to talk to the other humans or something.
Oh,
So
okay.
like there's some sort of thing going on there, but yeah, it really was just kind of another thing where it was like a really kind of weird occurrence, this supernatural kind of thing, just all these birds just crashing around. It was very dramatic,
Yeah.
but there was no explanation. It didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Mhm.
Well, it did bring art to the tree.
That is
and
true.
the inexplicable peach.
Which is the next question. What
Yes,
is
I have
going
that
on
down
with the
too.
fruit tree here?
Art and the giant peach.
So Art finds one piece of fruit on this tree, eats this piece of fruit. The tree instantly dies. How long has the fruit been there? Why is there only one? How come Blaine and Annalise seem to not know about this fruit tree or what it does, or were they protecting it, or how do they?
Why is the peach made up of mother's milk?
Yes.
Because he ate it and got young, when
Yeah.
seemingly the only thing that does that is her juice.
Like the only tenuous connection I can think of is that it's the same spot where Mother dies, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But someone says something about like the children were preparing the spot for her, and maybe in some way it has something to do with that, but I don't know what or how.
Yeah, they do say that like that's where she was born. Uh
Yeah.
or well, no, they said like born. I'm certain they said
Oh,
born. Not
I,
not just like where they found the egg, but that she was born there.
huh. Interesting choice of words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know.
But that was the one of the first notes I wrote down was like, why why is that peach? Like, what is it doesn't make any sense by the end. It's like it's completely the wrong thing. I don't understand.
Yeah.
It
Uh, I don't know either. I thought I don't even know.
it feels like there were multiple revisions of the script, and they just forgot to remove certain elements from like earlier versions. And it's like, oh shit, we've already filmed this. Leave it in, no one will notice. That's kind of what it feels like at times.
I mean, it is weird because it also seemed like Blaine and Annalise didn't know about the tree, or they had never seen fruit on the tree because they were like, "Where'd you get this from?" I'm like, "What happened?" And so he's like, "Oh, "I was one and I picked it." And
Also, it should be noted the tree is growing in a cave, which is also weird, but
exactly. I don't know. Yeah, this is a bizarro thing because if I really thought at first like the whole spiel was going to be like they had been using the spinal fluid to like
grow a tree.
water the tree that was giving them the fruit or something. But
Right.
no, I don't know what's going on here. So,
Yeah,
um,
or that because she
Yeah.
was born there, like somehow the tree shares kind of her DNA, if
Maybe
you
it
will.
absorbed the yolk fluid from the egg she hatched out of or something. I don't know.
yeah, why were they? I didn't understand either. Like, so they were collecting that quartz all season to
Yes.
decorate that spot where she was gonna die at, but like, why?
I don't. Okay,
Because
okay.
shiny? I don't.
Were they just decorating it or were they eating it? I am a little unclear on that. Like
I
I thought they
think
were
I think the quartz we find out was all decoration in the cave. Like there's the one scene where Mother
okay.
like chews on chalk, but I don't think it
Yeah.
was related. At least I didn't think it was related.
Okay. I thought maybe it was like a quartz substitute.
I
So
did. I mean, now everything in the cave is just confusing as well because
yeah.
also like Mother knows she's going to die, and so the ritual involves like making a human shield of her babies around her, which all get blown up and evaporate as she dies. Like what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and why did she explode? I mean, if she was exposed to like the gamma rays from the cathode ray TVs, because we established that makes their blood explode. I could see that, but she wasn't. She was in a cave with nothing, and all of a sudden she just starts like losing core integrity, and she just blows up. Like what the hell?
Yeah,
Giving it all she's got, Captain.
it's definitely
Uh,
like a Iron Man extremis type effect going on where she's like overheating and blowing up.
she literally could have just done that in the lab.
She could
Yeah.
have like
She could have been like,
yeah,
"Okay, I'm out. See you."
right. Uh,
There were some weird things there because, yeah, she's like, I need to basically go to the cave to die. And then they're like going through the tunnels, and Renee and Paz are like, we'll go get your babies free. And she's like, okay, it's good enough for me. Let's just keep going to the cave. It's all good. I trust these two people I don't even know to go get all my babies unlocked.
right.
It's like, what?
Uh,
What's happening here?
yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
craziness.
Well, you'll be happy to know if they weren't eating the chalk, then I can spare you my chemistry lesson here.
Oh, okay.
But if they were
Uh,
eating the chalk,
but if they were
or the quartz rather, okay,
quartz,
raises even more questions because okay, if they were eating it, not sure that they were.
I feel like
Quartz
you
is
got to give
made.
us the chemistry lesson anyway now.
Okay,
So
I
go
have to,
Jesus.
yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
so quartz is made out of silicon dioxide. That's pretty much it. There's a few variants that are made out of silicon tetroxide, I think, which is weird, but at any rate, it's silicon and oxygen. That's it. Why are they drinking? If they are eating quartz, why are they drinking spinal fluid? Because there is no overlap between the construction of quartz and then the composition of cerebral spinal fluid, which is a mixture of, among other things, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chlorine, the lactate, various proteins, glucose, and phosphates. There, there's no overlap except for a bit of oxygen in a different form. Like it, none of the stuff behind the creatures in this makes any sense whatsoever if you actually stop and think about it. This
The
is
answer is science does not exist in this show.
right. Like I can buy the gamma rays from old CRT TVs that have been supercharged, like hurting them somehow. Sure, I get that. I mean, that's sure. I can hand wave that away. I can hand wave away their blood having like eternal youth serum properties or whatever. But it's the second you start trying to bring real science into it, and just you can't hand wave that away because you're setting a precedent, and
Mm.
it's aggravating.
Yeah, when it's something that's already like a known thing. Like
Right.
when they made Star Trek and they made all these like crazy things and they're like making up science and like, you could just go with it because it doesn't exist. But when you
Mhm.
say you've made a particle accelerator out of old TVs. No, no, you didn't.
It was the silver mica capacitors that did it, or whatever it was that Sam's daughter said.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Like, I'm not an expert on a particle acceleration, but I'm fairly certain you can't do that with like a bunch of TVs that are not physically like we know the particle the certain particles it's like 5 kilometers in diameter. It's not a
yeah.
living room.
Oh,
We got all kinds of theories on Reddit here as far as this one. We got some people thinking that eating the quartz would help a silicon-based body as opposed to a carbon-based body for food. We got people thinking they're just decorating the cave. We got some people speculating that quartz supposedly have healing properties, so they were stealing as much as they could to try to heal Mother, but it didn't work. We have other ones suggesting that they were bringing the quartz to the tree in an effort to try to heal the sick tree. And then we have a lot of people saying that the Duffer Brothers said they were going to give us the answer in season 2. So,
I
Stay
mean,
tuned in for that.
the Duffer
yeah.
Brothers are not J.J. Abrams, so we might eventually get an explanation, but it really, with the way the season ended, a lot of these open questions felt unsatisfying to me.
Yeah, but it's going to be the Upside Down's now just the middle, Justin.
And here I am stuck in the middle with you.
Exactly.
And if you'd like to be stuck in the middle with Justin, check out our sponsor hymns.
There it is. There it is.
Well played, sir.
I guess we should touch on what did you guys think of the final shot of the show? Spoiler alert here, but we get Sam in the mirror glitching in a way that we've seen other characters glitching as well. I don't know what that means, but
I thought about that for like a solid 5 minutes straight last night and came up with nothing that really made any sense.
Yeah, I unless it was just a reflection glitching, so
That too. Yep.
maybe there's another one of these things out there that has similar psychic abilities to Mother, and it was trying to reach out to him.
okay.
That's the best I got.
That's better than anything I had, so
Yeah. Like briefly thought, well, he's still in her dream world.
Ooh.
Oh,
perhaps. Like he
maybe.
never like he actually did die, and everything that we're seeing at the end is just a dream.
Hmm.
But it also doesn't explain why only the reflection is glitching. Uh, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions people had out there?
Other than the question of why there has been no like fossil evidence of these things,
And what do
or
you,
why there was just
hmm,
a single egg, hidden in a cave for who knows how long. I
yeah.
just, other than that, no.
Or
I was
how much weed does art use?
this entire show was just a psychedelic weed dream. Uh, I was turned off by the moment where Mother basically turned into ET and used a glowing hand to heal Judy. Um, like I sat there and I was like, we already know that her juice like heals you. Why didn't you just squeeze some juice into Judy? Like, suddenly she has a glowing hand that heals things. Okay, that what?
Or why weren't Blaine and his wife using that instead of having to like milk her or whatever? It just it seems like it would have been easier.
Oh, she wasn't going to show him the glowing hand. That cost extra. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
I
Yeah.
kind of just threw up my hands at that point, but it and well, I'll come back to this point when we're done with the segment.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, okay. So as far as we have seen out there right now, this show has unfortunately suffered the Netflix curse, which is, of course, when a show is on Netflix. So this was supposed to be apparently planned to be a three-season show, and the
Oh,
writers and the Duffers both claim they have all three sketched out fully to tell the tale, and it would answer a lot of the questions that we have asked here tonight.
Oh no.
Whether that's BS talk because of the current situation or not, I don't know. But this was axed, unfortunately, as of last we saw here, because
Hmm.
dual reasons. Number one, apparently, and I really don't get this. It says the cost of the episodes was reportedly 10 million per episode.
what?
And unless a lot of that is going to this cast, I don't know how that can possibly be true. Like
Yeah,
it's
the
a
No,
CGI
static
wasn't that good.
it's a
no.
static set. You got very limited monsters out there.
Wow.
I don't know
Yeah,
unless you're
it's
paying
Gina
I don't
not.
Davis
know.
isn't cheap, I guess.
Great. More like
It,
Garena Davis. Cha-ching.
yeah, there really was not that much CGI in this that I can think of. Like obviously the monsters were to some degree, and um, like the TV sequences
Mhm.
where they're all glowing and shooting their rays out, but there really wasn't a whole lot. So that doesn't make any sense as to how they could possibly be spending that much money on this show
Unless
Yeah.
they, unless they were
unless
actually
they
supplying art with
literally
weed.
built the burrows in a desert somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be, I guess. So that was reason one, and then reason two, apparently the real behind the scenes here is the Duffer Brothers signed a 4-year deal with Paramount, moving away from Netflix, and Netflix was like, fuck you, and canceled the series out of spite for that reason. So,
Mm.
Hmm.
which I guess I don't know. I mean, just like logistically, I don't know if they are the producers of the show and they have a deal with a different company. I don't know how that would work. Like, could they put out two more seasons legally,
Hmm.
or like, does the contract say that that's impossible? I don't know how that works. I guess behind the scenes.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess as good as mine.
Yeah.
But so then last question I have over here is, which is also kind of confusing. Where do you speculate this show would have even gone in a season two? Like the monsters seem to be gone. Did Blaine live or die at the end? I can't remember actually.
He got
He,
evaporated in the
yeah, he
explosion.
was he was
An
like a withered
explosion?
mummy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam.
Presumably, I mean, we don't see anything, so it's there could
Mhm.
be some way he survived somehow, but shouldn't have.
it's weird that this is, I mean, I agree we have a ton of questions that are not answered here, but it's weird that this was planned as a three-season arc because I'm like, what would season two even start with? Like, are they still in this community? The monsters are gone, the bad guys are gone.
I can't imagine the community would survive after an incident like that. Like even if the truth of it never got out, I mean, there's multiple people who are dead. So I have a feeling that would
Yeah.
get shut down.
Nearly everyone who ran the the company is gone. I
Right.
mean, you could bring some people in to sort that out and keep it going, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know where the story would even go.
Yeah. Unless I mean, yeah, I'm really not sure. It would have to somehow reincorporate the monsters. Like there would have to be more of them, or a different location or something.
I mean, they
But
Right.
could
yeah,
make it like an almost like an anthology kind of thing where like the second season was a completely different problem.
maybe.
And now
Yeah.
they're like the Scooby Gang and they're just solving mysteries in the burrows.
Yeah. I mean, it seems odd that they would just randomly happen upon a new scenario but I guess they kind of do that in Stranger Things a little bit too. So maybe it's,
Mm.
Yeah.
um, but everybody just seems to have like resolution with their stories right now.
Yeah.
So like,
It's wrapped up pretty nicely as is.
Hmm.
yes, we have a
Plot
lot of
holes
questions,
aside.
but I
Yeah.
don't know where we would go from here. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
for a split second, I thought maybe like Sam in particular and some of the other people would just take over the Burrows and like they now run it and in a much more humane manner and maybe some
The
things change, but that doesn't really seem Sam's style
the
anyway.
only thing I can think of, in terms of like carrying it on with any sort of antagonist is the realtor lady, or like the one who got everyone settled in when they first moved
Oh
in,
yeah,
the blonde.
She
She
did
escaped.
escape.
she did escape. She
Yeah.
ran.
That's Yeah, but I mean, she doesn't have any more juice, so she's gonna age and die pretty
As far as
quick.
we
So
know, yeah, she's ancient as well.
I
yeah,
mean
so yeah,
the sheriff is still alive because he threw him the keys from down on his bed. So
uh,
he would still be there, but he already had turned against Blaine by the end of this season anyway.
yeah,
So
Appeared to be half dead.
yeah,
yeah,
and also out of juice.
yeah.
So
I mean, I guess Wally had figured out like injecting the blood was revitalizing mothers somewhat, and then they like fast tracked that and canceled that idea. So maybe Wally has a little bit left that they could synthesize, like I don't even know, rebuilding a creature from DNA or something. I don't
That's a
know.
yeah, that's a
yeah,
possible way because he certainly was super focused
yeah,
on doing that. So he wouldn't probably just stop.
yeah,
Or maybe season two was like the prologue of all of the questions here. Can they go back and
maybe.
like show how Mother and the Burrows started? Maybe it's like the XXX trilogy, Brett, and they just second one's like go back, and then third one's in the future, and
There, yeah,
that
Hmm.
could be it.
they could do that.
I really don't know. I don't know where else they would go, and I have a feeling we're not getting the answer, unfortunately. So
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm.
thanks, Netflix. More like nutsacks. Uh,
Yeah,
yes.
take that, Netflix.
I can feel that sponsor money leaving us by the second. All right,
Uh,
does anybody have anything else before we wrap up here? Anything we didn't cover?
I don't think so.
Did Art ever play any actual golf? We don't know. Also, why was Art lying about playing golf? It's just like going out in the canyon to hike or something.
And grow magic mushrooms.
And grow, yeah.
Which
But
his wife was fine with.
yeah,
Yeah,
not sure who he was hiding that from. Also, was the golf course outside the property?
there were three of them apparently, and I don't
Because
think
he
we
was
saw
like
ever.
leaving through those guard gates every day, and they're like, going to hit some balls, and he's like, "Oh yeah, gotta go play some."
That's a good point.
So like they're
Yeah,
all stuck on this place, but they can leave whenever they want, even though they can't leave whenever they want. It was kind of weird, but
yeah. Hmm.
I guess they had to get him out there somehow. But anyway,
Yeah.
Okay, anybody want to go first on this one? Or I can, it doesn't matter.
Oh, you can if you want.
Okay, then. Hard to put a number on this only because I did enjoy it quite a bit at times, and there were times, as we're pointing out, where it did feel a little bit silly out there. I think I enjoyed it just purely from a different cast, again, like I said, from a show that I would typically watch, which is not a. I'm not trying to knock on the actors by saying they're old. I mean, literally, these are the actors we grew up watching on films. They're just older now than they were 30 years ago when we saw them acting. It was a really good cast, really good set of characters. The story's a little nonsensical at times, but I did enjoy this for the most part. It wasn't, well, I don't know. I guess it kind of was Stranger Things with senior citizens. Kind of not, but it
Very
kind of
similar.
was. Yeah, except I guess the monsters were, well, I guess there's the military in that one too, so it's
Hmm.
not entirely different. And they were also trying to use the monsters for their benefit as well. But I did enjoy this one quite a bit. I would have been curious where a second season would go, but I don't know where it could have gone.
Yeah.
Um, wasn't perfect, but I did enjoy a lot. A lot of heart with that cast, a lot of comedy in here as well. I'll go 7.5 for my final score. You know, Alfred Molina is an interesting actor too. Like I only associate him as Doctor Octopus, which is weird because I know he's had a long career,
Mhm.
and that's the only thing I associate that guy as. So I'd have to look up what he's been in because I don't even know, but it's weird. So I'll say that it was a good ride.
I'll jump in here. I, it's actually kind of difficult to rate because I did enjoy it. Like, I really liked the characters. I felt like I really kind of connected with them on emotional levels, and really enjoyed seeing them. And it was enjoyable, and I liked the setting, and I liked the kind of the oddity of it, and things like that. I also made we just mentioned Stranger Things naturally, and also we mentioned Goonies, and I made both those connections as well, that they kind of have similar vibes and feelings that they elicit. And I enjoyed that. It was fun to see like this group like trying to take on this weird mystery thing going on. uh, so it was a show that I enjoyed, and I probably like, if there was to be a second season of this, I think I probably would watch it because I enjoyed it. But definitely some real sloppy bits to this, in writing, and the science specifically. So I've actually, as we've been talking about this, I kind of lowered my score a little bit. But like, I think the big thing that I I kind of alluded to earlier when we were talking about the problems with the holes in the story is that I didn't care. Like, I made note of it, and I was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make sense." But I also didn't care because I was enjoying what I was watching. There's a quality to this that makes you feel like they're not really taking it seriously necessarily, and so it allowed me to ignore the fact that those things didn't make sense, or that there was plot points they gave us and then never came back to, or like didn't wasn't actually a part of the plot in the end. So those things didn't negatively affect my score as much as they may have with something else. My final score on this is going to be 6.75.
Okay. I Hearing that we're probably never going to get any answers to these questions has made me drop my score a little bit from what it was going to be.
Oh, come on.
Um, it,
That's not
it,
season one's fault, though.
it is for like I
No, it's
brought up all
not.
of the basic the basic contradictions in like the science that they brought up, or like the plot holes, like how did they get Mother through the the oven shoots,
Should have
that
never
sort of
said
thing.
that.
It's just there are legitimate plot holes in this, and knowing that there's probably no chance of even getting an answer to the ones that may have had answers coming, it's even more vexing because I legitimately did enjoy the performance in this. Like solid cast and just really well, like they played their roles to the hilt. Like similar to Brett, I also enjoyed my time with this, even despite its flaws. Um, that said, it's been a while since I've seen a show stumble this hard in the final act. Like Mother exploding, the tree just not ever, amounting to anything. Just all of the loose threads and nonsensical stuff. Just really, I'm finding that hard to really reconcile. Um, that said, I still enjoyed my time with it. I would recommend watching it. It's a fun adventure, um, but it's flawed. There's no getting around that. 6 out of 10.
All right, you guys. Typical. Make me go first and look high. I see what's going on here.
I went first last episode, and I was the
You're
lowest
high?
score, I think.
I thought you were just
Oh,
drunk.
He's been hanging out with Art.
maybe. All right, 6.75. So weak recommend on that one. Not crap, but not classic. Um, oh fuck, I just had something I was gonna say too. God damn it. I can't remember what it was now though.
Shouldn't have been so high.
Piss. I really can't think what I was gonna say right there. Oh, yeah, it was. Can either of you guess what Alfred Molina's first movie was without looking it up?
Ooh.
I'll give you a hint. It's something you've both seen.
Uh, I'm going to say he was in some sort of production of Romeo and Juliet.
No. I mean,
Okay.
he might have been, but let's see. No, he did a couple Shakespeare, but not even that Shakespeare. But anyway,
Hmm.
I'll give you another hint. 1981 was his first feature film credit.
Wow.
Ooh. Uh,
I don't know why. I'm gonna say like Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
No, good guess. Good guess.
Solid guess, though. Yeah.
Yeah, good guess.
I'm gonna say it's got to be something horror because a lot of actors get their start in horror. I'm going to say 81. Um, I'm gonna say he had a bit part in Friday the 13th. No,
No.
no, Friday that was earlier than that. But anyway, okay, I
All
got
right,
nothing.
I'll give you one last hint. His character's name was Satipo, Satipo.
That somehow makes this harder.
That makes it feel like it's a sci-fi kind of thing.
Yeah.
Either that or somehow he was playing a Native American.
Um, sci- Blade
I,
Runner? You said sci-fi, so I'm just like, no, Blade Runner was later than that.
I will. I'll do another clue after this.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
I feel like you're playing Cinemasters, damn you.
A little bit. This would be like if Cinemasters got better, though, as the questions kept going. All right. He dies from a wall trap.
One, All Trap, Satopo.
Nothing come to mind. Can't even think of like a scene where that fits.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I think we're tapping out on this one.
All right. All right. I'll give you. This will give it away, but I'll give you the last clue. He does not throw Indy his whip back.
Wait, what? He was that guy in
He
Raiders?
was that guy. Yes, indeed. That
That's
was him.
fantastic.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay.
So
Okay.
apparently, it was his first feature film credit. So there you go. All right. Well, that was The Burrows on Netflix, which, watch if you're interested in maybe like Stranger Things or some creepy, fun mysteries with some good humor and just love some of the actors and actresses in this one. don't stick around if you're looking for hard science or things that just make sense all the way through. But
It could
it
do a
was
lot worse.
enjoyable. Yeah, you
Yes.
definitely could. So. Okay, well, that's going to do us up here. Again, we have some upcoming episodes this summer still. We'll be checking out Spider-Man Brand New Day at some point, I'm sure, coming up here. We got our top 5 video games for everybody to reveal as well. There's some crappy Christopher Nolan movie coming up at some point here. I don't even know what it's about. Something about an old video game system or something, I think. So there's that. So. But yeah, come out and hang out with all of us here at the Fawn Pod, friends occasionally not disagreeing. I've been Cody, that's been Brett, that's been Justin, and we will see you all next time. Take care.
See
See
ya.
you guys.